The other offer sheet claimed from Stan Bowman's Oilers, Dylan Holloway gives the Blues a young, promising forward to help improve their core. On this episode, we'll be breaking down Holloway's play style and potential impact on the team. Before we start, though, if you could like the video or give us a rating if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also on Spotify, they do comments now. Same thing on YouTube. We read all the comments. So leave a comment, say what you think about the move, about the video, whatever you want. So Dylan Holloway is a St. Louis Blue. For a time, it looked like that wasn't going to be the case as the Oilers tried to clear up some cap space, but really just ended up losing Cody Ceci. But that's not what we're here to talk about. So Dylan Holloway, it was signed by the Blues for 2 years at $2.29 million as his AAV. Holloway will be 23. He's 22 now, but he'll turn 23 for the start of next season. Also, he is listed at 6'1" and 205 pounds, so solid size. Just like with Broberg, Holloway's rights are still retained by the Blues as he's still arbitration eligible, so he will still be an RFA after these 2 years. So the Blues will still get first crack at re-signing him if they like his production and how he fits in with the team. Holloway was also a former first-round pick. Broberg was the Oilers' 2019 first-round pick, and Holloway is their 2020 first-round pick. He was selected 14th overall in 2020 by the Oilers. So for his career so far, Holloway's had a lot more of an opportunity, but at a very, very young age, very, very young age. We'll look at the last 2 years of his production because that's the most significant time he's played. So in 2022-23, Holloway played 51 games with the Oilers. Only had 9 points, though. And last year, he played 38 regular season games with the Oilers and also had 9 points. So showing some slight improvement there. Holloway has shown pretty much standard growth up to this point. You hope that he can be a middle sixer, and I think he can. Maybe this year, but probably by next year. So is this a bit of an overpay for a player of his caliber? Maybe. I'd actually argue not. I think with some projected growth, I think this is actually a really fair contract for him. Although you could argue that just the production has not been there yet. But again, those were his age 22 and 23 seasons. So a lot of room to grow and still trying to figure out his place in the NHL. I would say, to me, the most notable thing about Holloway's game is actually his defense. He's a very defensively responsible winger. Really takes care in all three zones to protect the puck, use his body to block shots, and has put up solid-ish defensive stats, especially for the minutes he's played and compared with his production. He should be a really nice defensive winger. And if the Blues choose to play him at center, which they can, I'm not sure that they will, but I think he would be probably an average defensive center. The other part that I think is most notable about Holloway's game is his speed. Holloway is incredibly fast, and his skating is really, as I said, like safe and responsible, but also he really can just blow by you. So he's a nice skater who can protect the puck. That already sounds like a nice floor for a young player who's a former first-round pick. So there's a lot to like about this move going in. But as we said, the production just hasn't been there yet. So how is he going to do it? Well, he really tries to make the plays himself. He tries to be a puck carrier. As I said, he does do a good job of mostly defending the puck when he has it, and also will often attempt to steal it back from when the other team has it. And he really tries to, for the most part, skate it himself. That isn't to say that he's averse to making passes. I would say that's not at all the case, but it does feel like that he wants to be the guy with the puck to set up that nice chance. It isn't quite to a level of what we used to see with Jordan Kyrou, where he would just act like he was the only guy in the ice. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's actually a much better version of that, to where he relies on his skating. He knows his speed. He knows his body. He knows how to box defenders out, and he trusts in his ability, and it works some of the time, a decent amount of the time. The other thing is he likes to create rush chances. This is either, like I said, stealing a puck and just taking it the other way with his speed, blowing by another defender that already puts the other team down a man on an odd man rush. And yeah, just with, as I've said multiple times, with his speed, he really does like to profit off of the rush, both with shooting and assists. Although I think he prefers to be more of a shooter. I say that because he had a 10.71 shooting percentage last season. This was at even strengths. At 5-on-5, it was something like 9 point something, a high nine, I think 9.7 shooting percentage at 5-on-5. But at all strengths, he had a 10.71 shooting percentage, which is high. And I think this is just his play style, and I think it's a very solid toolkit that he can rely on. Additionally, with the Blues, this will be really helpful because honestly, what the Blues are really lacking, as many of us know, are goal scorers. We have the offensive creators to set up chances, but not a ton of people to finish those chances and drive them into the back of the net. We're hoping that guys like Jake Neighbors can be that. Jordan Kyrie's always been a shooter. Pavel Buchnevich has always been a shooter. But those are, first liners. Down the depth chart, there really aren't that many shooters. I would say Brandon Saad is one that you can rely on to score some goals when you need him. But outside of that, it's really hard to say. And Holloway really gives some really nice scoring depth at in the middle six, or potentially bottom nine, but I think it's more likely he'll play middle six minutes. The other thing that mostly gets talked about when discussing Holloway and his career up to this point was his last playoff run. So as we all know, the Edmonton Oilers made it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals and made it 7 games. And Holloway played all 25 games for the Oilers, so they really valued him at that point in his career. In those 25 games, he scored 5 goals and tallied 7 points. The thing about, while that may not seem super impressive for a depth forward, actually, I would argue that they were that's a pretty decent number, especially on a team that relies so much on their top line and really nothing from their defense either. It's a solid performance for a then 22-year-old. Additionally, the more exciting thing, as I've talked about a couple times on several episodes, is that Holloway, the way he scored was different each time, and that's really, really exciting. He isn't just a one-trick pony of, it's not like he needs a one-timer, or he can only score off rushes, or can only finish in, with the tip in or something. He showed pretty much every offensive scoring ability that you'd want out of a forward or out of a skater. And I think that's really exciting. It shows that he doesn't have to rely on just one thing, and he can use his creativity and his skating ability to put himself in advantageous positions. But it doesn't just have to be setting up that one play. It doesn't just have to be coming down the lane and getting a one-on-one with a defender trying to rip a shot home. He can use it to really skate around the back of the net and pass in front to have someone else give someone else a tap in, or the reverse, or there's a lot of potential in his toolkit, and that's really what the Blues are paying for here. As I've said, production at this point pretty low, not much to speak of. We can look at in the AHL last year for the Bakersfield Condors. He played 18 games, had 16 points, 10 goals, 6 assists. So yet again, showing he's a goal scorer, and 16 points in 18 games is not bad in the AHL. It's okay. But yeah, I think the biggest things to be excited for with Holloway are threefold. I think 1 is his defense, 2 would be his speed, and then 3 is his offensive creativity and playmaking ability. As I said, he's a shooter, and he's going to fire pucks on the net, which really, really is what the Blues need. Especially, playing with his Oilers now Blues teammate Philip Broberg, or Justin Falk, or even Parayko and Letty do like to help out those rush chances, it feels like that there's a big opportunity for Holloway here to make a serious impact. And he'll play out his contract with the Blues, hopefully. I imagine he will. And he'll get a chance at an extension. And I think the Blues could be wise to extend him. Yeah, at that 2.29 million cap hit, there's just really very little risk to this move at all. So it's something that I know we are very excited about here at Note News. But let us know what you think. Are you excited about the move? Leave a comment down below. And if you haven't already, like the video, help us spread to more Blues fans. And give us a 5-star rating if you're listening on a podcast site. I'd like to thank you for tuning into the Scouting Report series. We will pick this back up either if another move gets made this offseason, or more likely, we'll pick this back up next offseason after the Blues have won the Stanley Cup or something else. But until then, and as always, let's go Blues.